Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettyjohn.
And we are live. We are very fortunate today to have us, the Hawaii Boss crew, is walking straight into the boss's office of, you wouldn't believe who we have. We have Rick Ahn, the Ministry Director of the Salvation Army, better known as the Ray and Joan KROC Community Center, or the KROC Center for short. That's sort of a mouthful, but we can handle it. We can take it. Rick Ahn, aloha and welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm honored because you have got an interesting, people have their resume, their curriculum vitae, as they call it, or it's a representation of themselves. You send it out to the world and say, this is who I am. And you've had a quite interesting career, sir. We'll get to that, and we'll get to what your current position is right now at the KROC Center. But we want to find out a little bit more about you and, how does someone get to, from when they're little and figure out what their passion is or what they want to do with their life. And maybe you kind of took a circuitous route to get there, but very interesting that you are Korean, sir, by birth.
Yes, I am. Full-blooded. I don't speak a lick, so please don't ask me to say anything.
I was going to say, 한국말을 할 줄 아십니까?
You know more than I do.
Well,
wow.
I wonder, now tell me about that. I've seen folks I grew up with folks that are immigrants. Mm-hmm. Their parents are first generation. They can't speak the language that well. It's a tough role for you as children. I see they do a lot of translating for folks. Tell me about that, as your role as being a child of first generation immigrants. Did it put a little extra burden on you or stress? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I grew up a confused little boy.
Okay.
Just trying to figure out who I was. My parents really didn't speak English. It was broken English. So that was my first language. It was broken English.
Konglish, they call it. Konglish.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of pidgin, but also, a little bit of that heavy Korean accent. And so, I grew up with this confused identity. And I kind of resented that, actually. Mm-hmm. And then later on, I grew up and I realized there was a bunch of guys that grew up Korean, speaking both, obviously, Korean and English very mm-hmm. fluently. And I couldn't do either, right? Again, it was Konglish. And I asked my mom, why didn't you teach me Korean? And she thought, again, back then, this is many years ago, we won't say how many, but that kids really couldn't pick up two languages. So she really wanted to try to teach me just English. And so many years later, she was like, I realized I should have taught you both. And you could have done it, but 20, 30 years pass and it's really hard to pick up at that point.
Yeah, agapta, they say. That's, it's unfortunate, but that happens. And sometimes we have regrets in our life, but you don't know what you don't know. And immigrant parents, they think this is the thing. Well, if they speak English, they're going to be successful, but Hawaiian isn't necessarily English.
Right. That's right.
So tell me how that caught up to you. So you grew up, you had this something special. It seems like your dad was a clerk at Merrill Lynch. Your mom owned her own business. And what sort of did that help you start looking outside of the boundaries of Hawaii as you started to look at your career and your path?
Well, not initially. Really, I grew up very local centric. I would say I was sheltered, a local boy growing up, just trying to enjoy life as a young kid. But my mom, being of Asian descent, and I think she was a typical tiger mom.
Sure.
And she was always telling me that, I had to go and grow up and be successful, go to some Ivy League school. And remember just always being compared to my cousins, my older cousins, who were going to the likes of, and they grew up in Hawaii, but they went off to MIT to get their PhDs and Berkeley and to Amherst. I mean, all these, Princeton, all these schools. And I just remember always being compared to them and that I had to beat your older cousins in education. And so grew up with a lot of pressure. But at the same time, it did propel me to want to do well. Because of course you always want to please your parents and make them happy.
And if they're trying and they're pushing and they're creating a pathway, a lot of parents, some people who say that they have a sort of a controlling parent regret it. But then there's some parents that say, I had a parent that didn't do anything for me or create any pathway for me. And so they regret it. So I don't know where a happy medium is as a parent, but I think all parents want to try and give the best to their kids. But Korea is specific. I was just talking to my brother about this. He's in the Army, he's just retiring, and he's a Korean linguist. But he's studying Korea over there, and just the education system, the way that, schools are competing together like the Super Bowl, for their test scores and different things that are going on. So it's endemic as part of the culture in many Asian cultures, that competition, even among family, the best of the best, because we want to show the best of ourselves. I think that may be an Asian characteristic, that they want to show the best of themselves. And boy, they, Korea and different, even Hawaii puts out, great, scholars. It's just true.
Right.
And, but there is a lot of pressure there. Your father was a doctor, you're going to be a doctor.
That's right.
You are this, and we expect you to be this. And so it sounds like you had a little bit of flexibility, and your path led you to the service in the military. What piqued your interest in that? How did that work for you?
Well, my grandfather was a 4-star general in the Korean Army. And he had actually been commander of Seoul during the Korean War. Was of course a very tumultuous time for our country and our military. And so there's stories of just him, how he's kind of revered in Korea. But my father, he actually grew up the youngest son of several, and I think his next older brother was like 10 years older. He ended up being, quote unquote, the spoiled young child.
Sure.
He went to the Korean version of West Point.
Okay.
And he said he basically drank and womanized his way out of, and basically got kicked out.
Uh-huh.
And he always talked to me about, pursuing the military because it's an honorable thing. And of course it is. And
absolutely.
And it's funny because I always didn't want to do what, he wanted me to do. And I ended up going to West Point, which for him was kind of a full circle, right? Like he wasn't able to complete it, but I was able to go. And so I realized I did it not wanting to, but I sort of lived out his dream. But it also obviously gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to go and learn and be challenged to become who I am today.
Okay, local boy from Honolulu goes over to West Point. I bet that's a culture shock. Well, tell me the first white glove inspection. Did you have your BBDs all folded up just right?
I was truly sheltered. Again, even though my grandfather was in the military, my dad wasn't, and so I didn't grow up in that culture. So yeah, go to New York, and I was just this fish out of water, and everything was different. And I was in shock, like I was in shock probably for 4 years. And what's crazy about it is I kind of resented being there the whole time, but I didn't want to quit, right? I grew up to be competitive and played sports, and so I was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to do my best. And it wasn't until my senior year that I started appreciating the differences of New York and just West Point is about an hour north of Manhattan, and the beauty that was there. But it wasn't, unfortunately, until my senior year that I started to open my eyes and appreciate the differences. But the people there, the people also were different, but I fell in love with them. They were my brothers and sisters. And in order to graduate from somewhere like West Point, we have this saying, cooperate and graduate. And that's kind of a model for life, right? I mean, we do have to cooperate in order to advance, in order to move on and accomplish things in life. So that's one of my biggest takeaways going there.
Well, and it's a special, there's only a select group of folks that are able to attend the U.S. military academies. So, hats off to you, sir. And when you got out, how long were you in total in the service?
Just under 6 years. It was a great time, and it went by quick. But of course, when you're in your mid-20s, every year seems like an eternity. But 6 years goes by this, and now I still have peers that are commanding like the 82nd Airborne Division, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, we're about 30 years later, and I'm just so amazed and proud of the guys that are still the women and men that are still serving to this day.
Sure, and they've put in some hard work over the last 20 to 30 years. They've been lifting some heavy weights there, and I don't think we've seen the full impact of that. And that's probably for another discussion about,
Right.
sort of the impact of all the wars on all of our service members. And we're starting to see that certainly in the VA systems, et cetera. And I heard there's a new veterans home going out close by out Kapolei side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a partnership with them. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Okay. Yeah, it's the veterans again, post-military, big heart for the veterans out there. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
And so awesome. So you had this military career, but sometimes, like you say, they stay in. Some people want to go all the way gung ho. I'm Army, airborne, HUA, and they stay in for the full. They go all the way. But there's some that get around. They're second lieutenant or captain or whatever. They're kind of like, I don't know about this. This doesn't. This career path has some things in it that I didn't realize. I'm not just out, playing Army guy. I'm leading people. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And so what made you what was that decision point there? It's different for everybody, but for you, what was different that says, hey, I'm not sure this is full. I've fulfilled my, grandfather's dream. I feel completed that way and did my sort of duty, or how they say it, filial pietic son,
Mm-hmm.
duty that you have to do. And so completing that, you felt fulfilled, and that gives you the flexibility maybe to choose something else after that. Is that how that went for you? What was it like for you?
Yeah, that sums it up. Because I didn't grow up, again, my father wasn't in the military, so I didn't grow up in that environment. So I still felt like, obviously I was contributing, I was growing. The camaraderie that you experience there, when you're fighting fighting for your country and alongside men and women to defend lives,
Right.
is an incredible experience. But I don't know if it's growing up in Hawaii, that whole military culture was just something every day. I didn't wake up saying, man, I just, this is it. I felt like there was something for me, at least outside in the private sector, that I was being called to. And so, yeah, I made the decision after, again, close to 6 years to venture out and do life outside.
Is that 6 years post-graduation or 6 years total?
Yeah, 6 years post-graduation. So close to 10 years total time in the military, both at West Point and then, of course, in the service.
Again, I got my 3 in and got my college fund and went to school. But again, hats off for all the military and service members out there. We have a great, cross section of all the services here in Oahu and across the islands. And so again, we love our soldiers and veterans.
Absolutely.
But, so a calling, you said, something that's drawing you out. Looks like here you became a tech bro. Is that what called you out? Was there some? You went to the Silicon Valley. What? I mean, still a calling. You're still trying to explore what options that are out there. Tell me how that went.
Yes, of course. I got out in '98, and that was a very, very exciting time in the tech world, as it is today. But
sure,
Silicon Valley was just exploding, and of course there were several options. Could have gone into traditional Fortune 500 corporate America kind of thing.
But you had a top secret clearance, though, didn't you?
Just a secret at the time.
Okay. Did that help? Did that help you get you a job?
No, I didn't have to rely on that.
Okay, good.
Just
your brain.
No. Yeah. And so, it just seemed, and I actually had a connection that was working in Silicon Valley and said, man, you got to come and check it out. There's so much opportunity and potential here.
Right.
And I wasn't quite ready to move back home. So I said, yeah, let me go check it out. And like you said, it was fast. It was, you got to partake in, things, the predecessors to like the iPhone.
Right.
I remember at one point there was a company called Palm Pilot. It was like
Blueberry or BlackBerry.
Yeah, the BlackBerry, all of those devices.
I carried one of those suckers. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was a really exciting time. Just creating technology, creating things that would make people's lives easier. And that's the path I took for the next 3 years of my life, and got to do a lot of traveling. It was an engineering / manufacturing company. We had some patents that we went to manufacturing with, and we worked with the giants like Motorola and Ericsson and Nokia at the time. And again, you're just flying into manufacturing plants to make sure you can keep up with production, take care of any customer issues with product, defects or quality issues. So got to got to travel a lot, sometimes not under the best circumstances because you're just trying to solve problems because
Right.
things are not coming out on time. But again, just learned a valuable lesson about just how interconnected the world is, really, because we relied on partners in Mexico, in China, in Korea, and everywhere else to kind of supply and just get things done. So it was quite an experience.
Yeah, that's when the global market really started kicking off, when, you know, this
Mhm.
communication started to be, internet started coming on, and, you know, the computers, we could start, you know, you know, the data started coming over the wire instead of waiting for this, you know, this money here and this money there. We're getting it right away, and you know, get more results and faster. And like you said, it was like a boom. Everything was like exploding, and money was being made hand over fist, and so pretty exciting time. How do you rip yourself away from that and start thinking about something else?
Well, you know, I think everyone's dream going into that field was to like be part of a small up and coming company that would be bought out, right? And
Right.
just
Everybody
go
gets paid,
IPO.
and right.
Yeah, and little did I know that there were thousands, if not tens of thousands of companies that were trying to do the same thing. But it's obviously a grind. And I remember kind of like in the military, I kind of took some of the training that we used to do where you just don't sleep. I mean, when you're in manufacturing overseas, the clock never stops. So your workday
Right.
might start at 6 a.m. because you're dealing with East Coast partners. So because I was in California, and you're on the phone very early in the morning, and then your manufacturing doesn't kick off till that afternoon
Mm-hmm.
and goes into the evening. So we would actually, some of the peers that I worked with, we would pull all-nighters days on end just to kind of follow how products were coming along. And then, you know, of course, we would shut down for time frame, but that was the cycle. And I did that for 3 years, and it was a very small company. So you do everything.
Right. You had multiple hats.
Yeah, multiple hats, from project management to, again, flying to different countries, to flying to customer sites, and kind of doing it all. But after 3 years, just that whole romantic view of technology was like, I am over technology. And I
Right.
just remember, like, I had to carry a cell phone because that was part of my job, and we were in the cell phone industry. And I was like, I'm gonna put this to the side. I think I can leave technology behind and be happy. And sure enough, yeah, it was a great experience, but not something that filled my tank, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the same time, my parents were getting older,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized I'm from Hawaii, and I have a place back home that I could be enjoying, and just kind of reminiscing about what could be back home. And,
Sure.
and so timing worked out, because I left the tech industry right before that bubble crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just timing. And I was able to come home, find a great job, and be close to home. And of course, be in this environment that we all love.
No, of course, we all love it, and that's really the, you know, that's what brings us all here, is how do we keep this so that it's, you know, it
Yeah.
stays Hawaii, because yeah, you can't bring over the sort of the tech bros mentality necessarily over to Hawaii, and so when you left, you were kind of open for anything. You didn't even know what you were going to do.
Yeah, I was wide open, but at the same time, I knew I had the skills to jump into whatever industry. I was still young. I was in my mid to late 20s. I had a lot to offer, and just kept my options open.
Mm-hmm.
And just for fun, there was a job that came open at the Honolulu Club, you know, the
Okay.
Hawaii's premier athletic social club.
Sure.
And I was like, let me just throw my hat in there. That would be a fun place to work. And
Right. Get to meet a lot of new people, and
Right.
a lot of fun things happening. It's like a professional host.
yeah, and
Mhm.
again, I didn't have a professional upbringing in the health club fitness industry, but of course I participated in that all my life with sports and stuff. And so really all they were looking for was a leader, right? Someone that could come in and motivate people and align them to the vision and be disciplined. And so, yeah, I took the plunge, and they offered me a job, and that was my ticket home. And I can't believe I was there for 7 years, and I had one of the greatest times of my life, just
Right.
because it was a people business. And what I realized was, man, you know, engineering was cool, and engineering came naturally because I could do numbers and timelines and projects and all that. But moving into the people business, because it was really about people and helping people in their lives and relating to people, that's where I just found a passion and a joy, and I haven't left it since.
Now tell me about that passion and joy. So again, it sounds like the first part of our career, and that happens sometimes. We just kind of work out what we think we're supposed to do. And as we're
Mm-hmm.
working through that process of this is what I think we're supposed to do, we get these, I don't know, impressions that maybe this isn't right for me. Or when doing this kind of work every day, in and out, day in and day out, it doesn't make me happy. Sometimes you come to that realization and you're like, but I've got all this investment into this one path. That takes a lot of courage to say, I'm going to leave you behind and I'm going to move something else. And maybe you don't have it all the way figured out yet. For people who maybe wanting to start as an entrepreneur, or maybe someone who's wanting to start out on a new career, how did you get up that courage there? What was that from?
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually, it comes with costs, right? I mean,
Sure.
I was good at engineering, and obviously the engineering field allows for higher pay.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when I did move home, I had to take, I think, about a 40% pay cut to do that. And I was fortunate because my parents were at home. So initially, I went back home and asked my parents if I could stay there, paid them a little bit of rent. So as a young adult, I was back home.
But that's respectful. You paid rent. A lot of kids come in, they don't think they got to pay rent now. I know you're who you are. You know who you are out there, but moms and dads, you know who they are too. So it's okay to ask them to pay a little bit of rent.
Yeah. And it was a win-win. Obviously, it was a win for me, my parents. And again, it just allowed me to kind of get my career going back in Hawaii again. But again, to your point about, just this whole career transition, if you find something you really enjoy, obviously there's a lot of people stuck mm-hmm. in their careers. And I feel for them. But I understand it. They have families, they have responsibilities, and it's not so easy to just up and leave what you're doing, take a 40% pay cut and move into something different. I was just fortunate that the timing worked out and I was able to do that. And from there, again, just had to reestablish a new career path and just kind of made some stepping stones until I think I got to climb the ladder in my respective field here back at home. But again, it does come at a cost.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have to climb down that ladder a little bit that you were just on, move over to this other ladder and sort of start climbing it. But there's rewards because, again, that ladder, you can see where it goes. The other one that you were on and you said that I don't see myself when I'm old and gray having all those experiences. I don't even know if I'll make it. I don't know if my heart can handle it. Those kind of things you start questioning. I make a joke sometimes. I keep a barber college application in my drawer over here just in case things get tough. I always I go to barber college. Maybe I can cut hair or something.
There you go.
That's right. It's a service. Somebody needs a haircut. I know that for sure. So
that's right.
So now you enjoy this customer service. You learn how to people because that's where you wanted to be. But there was a transition there, and somehow you engaged with the KROC Center, and this is it feels like has sort of completed or is completing your mission, like who you are. So tell me about you getting involved with the KROC Center, and we want to know what the mission is there, and just now this is who you are and what it is. So let us know what it is.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is you mentioned some earlier, and it just reminded me, like, some people know what they want to do from when they're young, and honestly, I thought I knew what I wanted to do, right? Engineering. And then I found out that it's a great career, but whether or not it's personally satisfying is a different story. So that wasn't, and I admire people that know what they want to do. I really had no clue. I just wanted to obviously be successful and self-sustaining. And so I really think timing makes a big difference. I obviously attribute everything in my life to God and how he opens doors that he wants us to walk through. And really, it's from building relationships introduced me to the opportunity that I'm at now, where I met a friend and he introduced me to just what was going to be developed in on this side of Oahu, the leeward side. Mm-hmm. And I just, again, it was an incredible opportunity that aligned my most recent experience with people and the people business, along with engineering, and then this opportunity to enter this KROC Center, which is where I'm at now. And I started off as, again, kind of a project engineer.
So tell me this: you started out as this, as the engineer for the thing, but there's this promotions that happened. How does obviously, because you applied yourself in what you knew, you have certain skills in these things, and obviously you were able to show that you were willing to do other things. What do you think it is that helps a person to get promoted? How do you put yourself in a position to get promoted? Maybe there's some folks out here right now that want to say, hey, I need to get promoted. I've been working this, this level, and I think I have enough knowledge now. I can move up to. Any pointers or anything like that you can give to someone to get promoted?
Yeah, I think the key is to understand the vision of the organization. And so for me, I did my homework on the Salvation Army, and I found that a lot of my values, my personal values, aligned with that organization in terms of like helping people, meeting human needs in without discrimination. I mean, that really hit close to home. And I think if you can align yourself to an organization's vision and really that resonates within you, you do whatever it takes to support that. And it's something I learned in the military from one of my mentors in the past was her leadership style was mission first, people always. And I've adopted that for myself. And it's not either or, but if you can balance the mission of the organization and you can embrace that and really, really make that your own, but always at the same time take care of people, that will propel you, I believe, well into an organization, and even if that means promotion. So I would tell any aspiring leaders that it's mission first, people always. And again, it's not either or. You can make those two things happen at the same time. Yeah,
both of those things happen. And you have to sort of step out of yourself. You have to serve other people. When you see other people, if you just see you and you say, well, this is my job and this is everything that's important to me and my job. No, you have to see what's important to you, but then you have to also step out and say, hey, what's important to my boss? Not that I have to be, hey, boss, yes, boss, yes, boss. No, that's not what I mean. But you have to be aware of what their priorities are there, so that you can then help them and the other leaders, and then you become a leader as you help those other leaders. It's a way that it's, again, supporting one another. As you're a support to anyone in the organization, people can recognize that. Oh yeah, we want more of you because you are what we need to make our mission go. So they'll promote a person. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're always in between, right? Even if you're your own boss, you're in between your customers and somebody else. So you're always trying to support, again, your organization's goals, but also the people that you work with and the people that work for you. And I like what you said. I mean, it just reminds me of what servant leadership is about. It's about getting the job done, but again, doing it alongside people, and not just leading with authority, but leading by caring, right? And investing in people. And those are really, it's a really different leadership model than the traditional leadership model of, just do what I say, not as I do.
Hey, you're outside of your task perimeter here. It looks like you need some correction.
Right.
There's actual people there, and they have problems, and they have families, and they have tough days. They have good days, and they're not machines.
Absolutely.
We have to expect that. We can't expect machines. There's some folks that are actually very good though and intelligent, and they can do a lot of things. But then they expect everyone else to work exactly the same way. But we realize that there are superpowers out there, that some people have some superpowers, other people have others. And so we have to, as a leader, you have to identify those and then also help them to bring that out.
I totally agree with you that everybody has influence, something to offer in a unique way. So everybody has leadership giftings, and just hopefully it's your own. Don't try to be like anyone else. Like, again, not growing up, but being educated at West Point, you often hear of the stories of MacArthur and General Patton, that fiery leader, that guy on the hill that's giving a speech. And I remember growing up, going to school there going, man, I don't know if I can ever be like them. Like,
right.
To lead like 1,000 men in battle. And then for a while I thought I had to, but then I realized, no, you just be yourself. So whatever you do, be yourself. You can still embrace the character that they embrace. For example, integrity, passion, duty, those things, obviously everybody can take on and should take on. But in terms of personality and style, when it comes to leadership, just be who you are. That's really the best way forward.
people are scared to be themselves because they're afraid sometimes. A lot of us feel that way, that, oh, we're going to make it. It's not the right boss move. It's not the right leadership move. Which one it is? I got to read this book or I got to read that. Well, if you're being authentic, your own self, and you really care about people, it should automatically come across. But I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me now, you work with people that you employ, but you also work with people that you provide services for. The Salvation Army is an awesome organization. I remember when I was in Washington, we did a med clinic to help offload some of the push in the ER with some of these folks out that were homeless and things that needed assistance. We set up a little clinic inside. It was closer downtown. We set up a clinic inside the Salvation Army location. And we did that every other weekend, and we provided a service. And again, they were wide open. Use our space, use our place. So tell us about the KROC Center. What is the vision, and what is it trying to create for Honolulu, and how does it serve the people of Honolulu? And how do we get access to it? Because we all want to know.
Yeah, well, the KROC Center is available to everybody and anybody. And we were planted intentionally here on the leeward side because it is the underserved side of Oahu. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the Salvation Army's DNA. Always go to where the need is the greatest. And you can find that around the world. But even here in Hawaii, so we are on the leeward side, and we look like a community center, and I guess we are a community center, and we are meant to be a resource where families and individuals can come and grow, and where families can stay together and individuals can reach their potential in life. So we have programs for children. We have programs for kupuna, for seniors. And
what's your most effective one? What's the one you like to talk about? What's the one in your program that you think you've seen a lot of good lately? I mean, all of them I'm sure are very good, but something that has really given us, something you can be proud of and say, this is what we do.
I think we're really proud of the fact that we have a lot of children's programs here. Mm-hmm. And again, on this side of Oahu, there's not a lot of resources like some of the other communities, even on Oahu. So I think we were rightly placed here on this side of the island to just be a place where kids can grow. We have some traditional programs like swimming and athletics, but we have this incredible dance program where kids on the west side are learning ballet, both boys and girls. I mean,
I was hoping for some hip hop because I need some hip hop training myself.
No, we actually have hip hop and breakdancing as well, but I only point out the ballet because that one is really unique, obviously, just in Hawaii, period, but especially on the west side. But it is exploding to see that here, right here on the west side. And of course, this time it's been a challenge for us, like many other businesses. We too have had to kind of initially close our doors when the pandemic was at its worst, but we're starting to slowly open our doors, and we're doing it. We've adapted like a lot of people, where we do classes both online as well as in person, spaced out, but it's very limited. So we have hybrid models with all of our programs, and so far we've been able to adapt.
So is there like YMCA, some sort of sliding scale or something like that in order to get in and get some action and get a membership or something?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have scholarships. So we don't want anyone that wants to be a part of the KROC Center to not be able to participate. So we offer some pretty generous scholarships to anyone in need. And sometimes if you're financially able to make it, but you have some other hardship, we will consider that as well. Again, we want anyone that wants to be part of the Ohana on this side to be able to access.
Well, Eva Beach and that whole side over there is blowing up as far as population. That's where all the building is, and everything is. You see these folks even traveling from the Big Island over there in their orange and green shirts and their with their toolbox and stuff, and heading over there and building houses. So that seems like a Oahu's new up and coming area over there. It seems like you should see some growth. You have planned. Is this big enough? Do you see future growth for you folks, or where are you at right now as far as what do you see now and the next 6 months to a year? How are you guys coming out of this?
Well, I think we're positioned in a great place. Like you said, we are located in the fastest, it's known as the fastest growing area in the whole state. West Oahu is across the street. The new Kamakana Ali'i shopping center right there. The first Chick-fil-A, I think, is going to be opening up right down the street. So, no way.
Okay.
We're
Hey,
in the
life
epicenter.
is good.
Right. Another Olive Garden is just opening up down the street. But we're really positioned, I think, to take on the community growth. I will say pre-pandemic, we had in excess of 12,000 members that were part of the community. And that doesn't include all the program participants and
wow.
Our doors are open to a lot of other community events. So we were busting down the doors already because of how crowded it got. But we are probably going to need to find more space if the pandemic conditions go away and we don't have to do social distancing anymore. We have a 15-acre property. Some of it is open space. So we are looking at in the maybe a little bit longer term, but developing some of that land to be able to accommodate more programs. Because when we were, again, just in 2019, 2020, early 2020, we were fighting for space between all the programs that we have, which is a great problem, right?
It is a good problem to have because it does help to generate the revenue that you need in order to help keep the programs going and pay for all the teachers and keep the upkeep and pay for maintenance and all these types of things. So it's a different thing. People think, oh, not for profit, there's no money involved, but it's actually a very large business operation that you're taking care of. It's like, what'd you say, a $10 million budget per annual or even larger than that?
Yeah, it's larger than that. And yes, we definitely have expenses. It's funny because when we first opened our doors with the Salvation Army name, we would have people from the neighborhood come in and think that, everything was going to be just walk in and have free access. But so we really had to put a campaign on to communicate that we also had to, like you said, pay our instructors. Our electricity bill is through the roof. I don't want to say what it is, but we have quite a few large bills to pay, and membership and program fees go to help support all that, as well as donations. So we have some great partners in the community.
Tell us about that. Some of the partners that, because it doesn't live off of donations of, chicken noodle soup, right? There's got to be a little bit more actual funding. And so tell us some about your partners that are very interested in what you're doing. Yeah,
the biggest partner is, of course, the Ray and Joan KROC Foundation. And they sold about, in total, about $110 million into this project. And then there was an additional $23 million that was raised to help also come alongside. But there is an endowment by that trust that is at our headquarters. And again, we earn an interest off that helps to pay the bills. But of course, we rely on generous donations from the public. Those Christmas kettle bells that you see, those are part of what we do, along with what goes on around the state with some of the other Salvation Army units. So we're out there raising donations so that those funds can go into reducing the cost for programs for our participants. And then, of course, during the pandemic, we made some incredible partnerships. There's too many to name, but we still have those partnerships ongoing. So we're still able to do drive-by distributions. And so, as you know, our center is not fully open because we can't do events like we used to do. A lot of the things are to a reduced number, but we shifted back into some of the traditional Salvation Army services like feeding the homeless. We have drive-bys that we do every month, at least once a month. And we do a lot of these distributions to senior communities where we prepare food and we take them out. So it can only happen with generous donors that believe in what we're doing.
So what kind of things do you need? We can say it out here to the world that everybody's listening to the Hawaii Boss podcast. What kind of things are that you're looking for right now? There's of course monetary donations helpful because then you can use that as far as the specific needs as you decide. As an executive or the board decides. But then if there's some different projects that need to happen or some specific things, is there anything that you'd like to ask for out there?
Yeah, well, the list is probably long, but I'll just say I would encourage anyone to maybe check out our website, look at the programs, and if there's any shared values in some of the programs that we do that they'd like to contribute to, and even volunteerism is huge. So we can't do this. Yeah, we can't just do this with our staff. In fact, it helps when we actually do distributions with volunteers. So we don't have to pay staff to come in and hand food out and organize meals and things like that. So if people want to volunteer, we'd be more than happy to take their services and just put them to work.
I'm sure West Oahu's got plenty of folks over there, and also all those growing. Yeah, just getting it out there. It's a great way to learn, great way to serve. You really come out of yourself when you start serving other people, and I think that's where sometimes you can find your passion when you start learning. When you learn that as other people have needs and you provide those needs, there's some sort of joy that comes from that, and it's hard to replace with other kinds of work.
Yeah, that's the stories actually that we hear. We get thanked by our volunteers. We're thanking them. They're thanking us because, of course, a lot of people have been sidelined. And so whenever we do these monthly or bi-monthly distributions, just the ability for them to come out and serve other people and to see like, wow, I'm not the only one that's struggling. And it just helps them to do life, and to connect with other people and feel good about contributing.
Whenever I serve someone else, I always start counting my blessings. Like, I could have it a little bit worse than I do. And so even though maybe, job didn't work out the way I needed to, or this or that, I can still serve and find joy in life. And that's, we don't have to have work necessarily to define ourselves. We can also be happy serving others in that kind of work. But I want to make sure that we get your website out here. It's www.KROCCenter-Hawaii.org. That's KROC Center-Hawaii.org. And Mr. Rick Ahn, before we let you go, though, we want to make sure everyone gets on that website and checks it out, comes and volunteers, comes, donates, comes and actually becomes a member. Swimming pools, there's a lazy river, there's all kinds of fun stuff out there, and plus all the programs. So, so we could talk for days. We hope you come back. We hope you come back and tell us all the more programs that you're trying to do, especially as you're serving in the community, the homeless folks and different things that are going on out there. We want to know more, and we want to see what the fruits of the KROC Center. But before we let you go, we kind of do some quick, kind of a pauhana. It's Aloha Friday today. We kind of loosen up a little bit, ask you a few questions. I joke that 95% of these are approved by HR. So the other 5%, I'm not sure. So we'll see, hopefully stay online here. But so were you Air Force or not? I mean, Army. Were you airborne or a leg?
I did go to airborne school. I had 5 jumps. You said 6.
That's right.
You beat me by 1. So I did my 5 jumps, and that was it.
Well, still, now you can go walk around saying airborne, hua, and all that stuff. So where did you go to? Fort Benning?
I did.
Yeah, that's where I did my jump school over there. I was telling my daughter about the 250-foot tower that they drag your parachute up to the top of this tower, and then they just let the chute go, and then you got to try and drive yourself down to the bottom there. And there were some guys that got caught in the tower. They steered their T-10 Charlie wrong and straight into the
yeah. I have my horror stories too, but it's rated R, so we won't share it here.
That's. But again, we appreciate that service. And now tell me also, you still like how many push-ups can you do? You're an Army guy. You say you like to work out, hiking, swimming, and stuff. You like outdoor stuff. Did you get a top PT score? How was your PT score in West Point? Were you up there with the top team there?
Well, all right, I'll share this. I did at one point have the Army push-up record at West Point.
No way.
And I did that as a sophomore. I got challenged by a buddy there, and it was a great challenge. But all that proves is that people with short arms can do a lot of push-ups. That's all it proves. Don't ask me what my 2-mile run time was. So yeah, I can do push-ups still.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's it is the challenge, as we get older too, as we're fighting, we don't keep the same young Army physique or that we had. So it's the battle against the bulge, I think it is.
That's right.
We keep going. So again, it feels like the work that you're doing is just an extension of all the things that the life that you've lived and now going forward, sort of the life that you want to lead, and it just seems to fit. So we're excited to see all of what you're currently doing, and also the future of the KROC Center. And so we hope you come back on as you move down the road, we get out of this COVID and we get people back together. We want to see those buildings full again, and hopefully we can start building on your 15 acres here real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I look
All right.
forward to connecting again.
Okay. Hey, Rick, appreciate it. God bless, sir. And we appreciate and are thankful for the service you're providing. Until
It's a
next
pleasure,
time.
David.
Yeah. Until
thank
next
you.
time, a hui ho.
Okay. Aloha, everyone.
Okay.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.